Let's do
Right
this on the internet.
meow.
I don't know what we're waiting for. Are we there yet? Let's do this.
Yeah, we're
Are
here.
we
Come
there
on.
yet?
Live.
Come on with it.
I was just chugging my water and I spilt it all over myself.
Glub, glub, glub.
It's everywhere. Do it again.
The chat didn't come out. The
Wow.
chat did not come out to play.
So Cody, you're saying before 2019 they didn't have that. It was one or the other.
Pretty much.
I was gonna say because mine has both.
Yeah, both.
Because they accomplished EGR with the variable valve timing, but
Yeah,
then the EPA changed its ruling and wanted more EGR flow. So
There we
then we
are.
went to valves again. Well, right back to where we were in the 90s.
There we go.
Full circle.
Let me pop
It
the
is.
chat out.
We are going full circle. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
10. Skidoo's here. Let me get this. She just went out. Let's see if I can not mess this up. There we go. Okay, okay. Welcome.
Got me.
Welcome. We have everybody. BC Electric. I just had somebody from BC today, dude. What's up? We have a newcomer today, Mr. Ken. We're gonna talk about 7.3, a Godzilla. Zoom dad with this up. Oh man, we need to talk about these 7.3s. Are they for you? What do you do when you have a problem? Do you believe who's working on it? Do you go to the dealer? Is it under warranty? By golly, if it is under warranty, I sure hope they're doing you right. Because if they're not, well, we're going to go over that. Additionally, there's some stuff in the headlines of the news we're going to talk about as well. This Chevron deference, it's kind of important. And I did not know exactly what it was until I read about it and comprehended and deciphered that information for myself. So I'd like to go over that with you guys, and we're gonna talk about some of the things that we deal with as mechanics versus the gasoline guys too, because we all have to deal with the EGR, and occasionally, if you do the diesel, you can do the gas, and you got to deal with the VGTs and all this stuff. And it's like, what is this? We're gonna talk about it all. And we're going to take some questions from you guys. I got a couple of emails we could go through. Had some really good questions pertaining to some stuff that we don't usually talk about. But nonetheless, ask questions. You guys got issues with your trucks? Chat is open. Welcome, everybody. Zeekster. I'm sorry for the last uniform outburst. That was the last one that was in the archives before I got my new thread. So no more. You will see those. That was it. Always raining, the new stuff. So okay.
Are they mad at you for wearing your old uniforms?
No, but every time I go to edit it, I have to block out every shot of the uniform patch. Well, how many times are in my shot? It was unnecessary amounts of time that needed to not be wasted doing that. So
Put a piece of tape over it.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah.
What up, BP? I was just thinking about you today, actually. I was talking to a customer who came from British Columbia, and his truck was 4,000 trucks away from mine. I should say ours. It was kind of cool to see his VIN very close to ours. So I was like, dude, let me check your VIN. When was this built? It was pretty cool. Wait, 109 degrees. Wait, wow. No way. No way. Welcome, Mr. Ken. I guess why don't I'll stop blabbing. Why don't you kind of brief everybody what you got, what happened, and
Sure.
Anybody with a 7.3 in a Super Duty probably should listen.
Yep. All right. So I'll try to. If I go too long, just let me know. I'd like to talk. Uh, so I got a 2020 F250 Super Duty Tremor package with a 7.3 gas, and got that in February of 2020. Truck's been great. I hit 37,000 miles about a month and a half ago, and I've been hearing like this little ticking noise. So I started doing some research. I find that there's a technical service bulletin for a cracked oil pump gear. Like, okay, at least I know a little bit about what the dealership might say when I go there and complain about this noise. So I complain about the noise. They say they can't hear anything. I go over with it with one of their techs, and I put it under some load. Put it in gear and hold the brake, give it some gas. I'm able to get the noise to occur. And the tech says, "Yep, I hear it. So let's take it in and we'll do something." So they take it in. They change not only the gear, but they decide to just put the whole oil pump in, which I guess comes as an assembly with the gear and everything. So to do that, I got some manuals that I have. I don't think they're the latest ones, but I got something. And to do that, they got to drop the engine or lift the engine up 4 or 5 inches or something like that to be able to drop the oil pan. Then they got to drop the oil pan, put that out of the way, and then they could access the timing chain and get to the oil pump. So they change out the oil pump. They have a service where they drop it back off at the house. So I was busy. They dropped it off at the house. I didn't get to look at it right away. So I come back to the truck about 2 hours later. I'm like, oh, let me see how they did. I noticed that there's a little puddle forming under the truck, leaking oil. I'm like, oh, all right. So it's got an oil leak somewhere now, and it didn't before. And I look under there with a flashlight, and I notice that there's a bolt missing on my transmission cooler, and there's a bolt missing on my oil pan. I'm like, okay, now they forgot fasteners on the outside. What did they miss on the inside? Is what I'm thinking. And I was like, all right, let me go for a drive with it. I take it for a drive. It's actually limited to 3,000 RPMs, but I'm not getting any engine codes or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, now this is really weird. I got all this stuff going on. Let me call them and get it back in. So I bring it back to them. They give me a loaner. They take about a week and a half, and I say, okay, we have to replace some solenoid and we have to replace the oil return. There's an oil return tube, like a plastic piece or something that they had to replace, which doesn't make any sense to me because why would that limit us to 3,000 RPMs? But whatever, I just let them go and do their thing. This is all during that time that you guys probably know more than I do, that they got this computer hack problem. So they're not able to print out any records or anything. It's all done by hand.
The CDK issue.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Thank you, Anthony. So that was all going on at this time. I don't even know if that's fixed yet. So I get the truck back. I was like, okay, before I give you the loaner keys, I'm gonna take it for a test drive. I take it for a test drive, feels good. I go to a parking lot somewhere. I go into there and look. They put the bolt in for the transmission cooler, but they forgot the one for the oil pan, and it's still got oil coming onto the filter. What the hell?
Come on.
What are they kidding me? Like I'm not stupid. So then I go back again, and I tell the service guy, I was like, here's the keys again. It's like, oh, what's the matter? And I was like, it drives better now, but it's still missing a fastener on the outside and it's still dripping oil. He's like, oh, we got to put it up on the lift. Show me right away. So I go inside, I show him on the lift, and then their service ops manager comes out in like a suit. I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, this guy's gonna tell me all about this thing, right? So he comes out and he's like, "Oh no, everything's good, everything's fine. There's nothing missing here." And I already had the printout of the bolt that I knew about on my phone. And I said, "Okay, well, you show me in your manual, where that what that hole is for." And the guy's like, "Oh well, we don't have the manual right here. The guy went home, da da da." And he's like, I don't appreciate you yelling at me. And I'm like, I was he did was ask for the manual, right? So I get on and he sends some a younger kid to go take a picture of another 7.3 underneath. While he's doing that, I found the thing on my phone and I was like, this is the hole I'm talking about right here, this hole in the oil pan. So then he's like, oh, that hole? I was thinking about the little hole. I was like, what? The thing for the zip tie? I was like, no, I was talking about the fastener hole. So it's like, okay,
Oh my
whatever. So
God.
then they're like, okay, we'll leave it here, we'll fix it. So they finally put all the fasteners in, stops dripping oil. I get the truck back. I take it for a drive. I still hear like the slightest little noise, but it's so faint. And I'm like, I don't know. At this point, I don't know if I should, complain about it, leave it there or not. So I tell the service guy, and I was like, listen, I still hear like this faint little noise, but it's really hard to hear it. And couldn't place, what RPM it's at, or if it's under load, not under load, because I only gave it like a 10-minute test drive. So the guy says, don't worry about it. Just drive it. Let me know if it gets worse. so, so I was like,
Wow.
okay. So I
Wait, how many miles are on that? Did you say that?
there's 37,000 on this.
Okay, okay.
Yep. So I'm still under the 5-year 60,000, which is good. So I take it that night. I go to Home Depot because this is like the first I had my truck in like a month. So like I have all this stuff that I was building up on my list of stuff to get to Home Depot. I got to get some conduit. I can get some other stuff. So I go to Home Depot. As I'm driving back from Home Depot to my house, I noticed that this noise is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I actually uploaded it to my YouTube channel YouTube Merc 45, and it's on there. But and if you fast forward towards the end, like you could hear it like just rapping and tapping and making all kinds of bad noises. So then I was like, well, this guy told me to drive it, screw it. So then the next morning I'm taking my truck to work, and the noise just kept getting worse. Like it started at 2,000 RPMs, 3,000 RPMs. Then it was doing it at idle. It was doing it all along the range of the RPM range. I was like, whatever, man, this thing's gonna just seize on me. I know it, and I'm just driving it. And at that point, when it kept getting worse and worse, I was like, all right, maybe I should just pull over and call these guys. And as I was putting that thought in my head, I was making sure I was keeping distance in front of me, making sure I got my hands on the wheel. Because when it dies, you lose all the power shit. You got a 7,000-pound truck that you got to deal with. So it died while I was just cruising along at like 1,200 RPMs. It's just no codes, no light, no nothing that I noticed. Engine seized, no noise, nothing. I get it towed back to them, and 2 days later they call me and say, "Yep, it's what you thought. The engine's broken. We're gonna order you an engine."
That sucks because it's just outside of 336.
Well, isn't
That would've-
LTIS
Oh, it's longer now.
75,000?
Yeah, I thought
So
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
there a valve train issue?
So here's the funny part.
that's
he
long
wasn't
block.
He wasn't able to tell me what they found. They were like, "Oh no, the engine seized. We're just gonna get." I was like, "Well, did you diagnose it? Like, what
They
did you
don't
What
find?"
have to.
happened?
What?
They don't have to. It's a seized engine.
And that's
What?
it. They just, hey, screw it. Just get them a new one.
What?
Well, because you're under
How
75
fast? How fast
because
was it? How fast was the noise? Like how was it? Like rapid
It's-
or was it?
So to me, it sounded like internal parts were starving for oil. That's what it. I mean, I've had that happen on really old machines like tractors and backhoes and things, and
Yeah.
that's what it sounded like when like the oil pump gives up and like things are just starving for oil, or when you have low oil. But that wasn't. I didn't have low oil, and I wasn't getting like an oil pressure light, so I don't know what was going on. But
It probably was a valve train then.
under low time in service, all they have to do is verify is bottom end damage, and a seized engine is bottom end damage, and they can just throw a log block in it. It doesn't matter what caused it.
Did you guys hear about a recall with the 7.3
Mhm.
where they were like turning up the oil pressure?
Yeah. I did too. They reprogrammed
that's
the
interesting.
PCM.
So what's that?
Reprogrammed the
Well,
PCM
well,
to bump
well,
the
at
oil
certain
pressure.
at certain engine ranges, it will default to a lower oil pressure to save energy.
Well,
Maybe
they
certain
can't do that.
Oh, they did.
No, they can't do that.
They can't
The
do what?
the EPA is gonna Volkswagen them for that. They can't do that because they
Oh,
passed their
but they're
emissions
under,
rating with that low oil
but they're
pressure.
not regulated like that because of their weight class
Um,
compared to the cars.
mhm.
It's that loophole. Trucks can kind of do
Then
what they want.
why did they turn down the oil pressure to begin with?
Maybe they wanted it to have a better rating for sales or whatever, or I don't know.
Forget.
TF,
It should
I
be
don't know.
noted. I worked about 37 hours this morning, so I'm full of it today. I'm on like level 47, so
Give it to me, baby.
Hey,
yeah,
Cody,
I'm
it's
just
I'm ready.
it's
to
560
throw
now, isn't
down.
it,
I don't
Cody?
care. Yeah.
I think
So-
it's
On the 7.3,
60 or 75.
mostly mechanical. It's got like a spring. I was trying to do some research on it, but isn't that mostly a mechanical device? Or is there a solenoid that tells it to do something?
There is a solenoid,
well, it's probably
It's a
probably both. It's
variable-
probably electronic.
variable oil displacement pump.
Hmm.
The 6.7 has it too.
Well, can we actually figure out what it does? Will it tell us on Oasis like what's it trying to save?
Let's see.
Fuel
See
economy
if you can
somehow?
pull that up. I have
Is it
I have
idle? Is
PTS
it
pulled up. Let's see if there's a bulletin on it.
I just can't believe when I got the email from him, what they just literally told him to drive it. They gave him a truck back that wasn't working like it should have been.
That's nuts.
And
Well-
I'm so like nervous now because obviously they left passengers out on the outside. I don't know maybe what they did on the inside. Who knows? Maybe they put 3 bolts and where it's supposed to be 6
Well,
bolts. I don't know.
Ford warranty, we'll find out, and we'll probably charge them back if they did something wrong. So
Yeah.
But
and that's gonna
was
hurt.
the
that's
was
gonna
the
be-
noise? Did the noise follow the engine speed?
Yes.
Did it make a difference if the engine was under load or under coast?
Well, towards the end it didn't matter, but in the beginning it was mostly loaded. that it made it like
Sounds like a lower end. Sounds like a rod to me. Or because if it's under load at first and it's faint, and then you are coasting and it goes away, that sounds like lower end.
So what's interesting is that like none of this occurred until they got in there and changed the oil pump for that first complaint, and then things just went downhill from there. So my feeling is now, it's just an assumption, but my feeling is whoever went in there and did the work, seeing how they were so sloppy on the visible fasteners that I saw, and I'm not even right. I'm not. Believe me, guys, you guys are years ahead of me on this stuff. I just saw 2 fasteners. Maybe there was even more on the outside that I missed, but on the inside, what did they miss? That was what was going through my head. So
Yeah, they could have missed something.
Yeah.
If he missed the outside, yeah. What did he miss on the inside?
right.
Yeah.
So, and I mean,
I
it's
don't
just,
s-
I mean, it's a pretty straightforward job from what I understand, but there's still, you got to take the time. There's like these little, retention things for the timing chain, and if you don't put those back right, you could get problems. There's all the stuff in there. So
I can't believe they consider
Sometimes
low time in service 70,000 miles now.
Hmm.
That's nuts.
So you had none of that noise until after.
correct. Yeah,
You had a different noise before.
it was a different noise before. It was only the noise before was only a tick every now and again at like loaded, but at like a low RPM, and then it would go away when it was higher RPM.
So that sounds more like the valve train a little bit. A tick.
Yeah, and
versus
that was the one that the TSB said, check for the cracked oil pump gear, because I guess maybe that thing would shift or something. I have no idea, but that's why they replaced it. But then once they did that, it never got better. So it just kept getting worse and worse. So I don't even know.
Well, the crazy thing is when this engine came out, it was touted as it's going to be the most reliable engine because it's a push rod engine and then all this stuff. But I feel that in going this direction, they're having to work out a lot of bugs before this can be really said to be the most reliable.
What oil had you been running in this engine?
So I've been letting Ford do oil changes at the dealer. They gave me since I bought the truck there. I've been letting them. So I don't know what they use. I guess it's their motorcraft, whatever spec oil that they use.
Okay.
But
oh yeah, that's another thing. If you run just a regular maintenance on a 7.3, just a regular oil motorcraft, and do an oil analysis, it's gonna come back as pretty well used up if you're just following regular maintenance. And that's not always the case with Ford engines. Like normally, you follow the maintenance and you use motorcraft, do an oil analysis, and it's still got oil life. Not the case in the 7.3.
So like what should so here's like I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, and I'm even talking to the dealer now, but the only thing that I could think of that would be like a good idea to do before this engine goes in is like serpentine belt. And what is that? That takes me 30 minutes, right? So like that's not a big deal. And then there's a lower belt that goes, I think it goes from the crank to the water pump, if I'm not mistaken. There's a second belt down there. And like that would be a good one to replace, because I mean those belts have 37,000. If I just replace them, everything's new in there. But I don't think there's anything else for the engine that would be a good thing to change now or do ahead of time now. Is there? Not
I mean,
really,
the only
right?
thing that I've had to do a lot, many of, not a lot, but many of, was the front seal. But they would have to put a new front seal on it. They had the timing cover off and the crank pulley.
Yeah,
So
no, I'm getting a whole new engine, so that's all new. That's all going to be on there.
yeah,
Yeah. So that, and actually, I called them today. So they said that they got the engine, and I even asked the service guy, and I was like, "Listen, you know," and I was talking to Anthony a little bit earlier, but like the service guy said, "Oh, we're starting this job, and we got to order some gaskets, and we got to get some different fasteners." And I'm saying to myself, "Didn't you look at the manuals and decide like the stuff that you need ahead of time, and like put all of this stuff on order so that when the engine does come, you are ready to go and then knock it out in like 2 days?"
Dude,
You
But
guys want
your
to hear it?
question should be who is putting this engine in? Is it hopefully not the same guy who did the oil pump?
right.
damn.
Because I mean, I think that's fair at this point.
You guys want to hear it?
Here,
I was
what
gonna
is
Hear
the
say,
engine?
I
Yeah.
got it. Yeah, I got the noise right here.
Yeah, I got screen shares on, baby.
All right, hang on. Let me bring this up.
I was just gonna say,
screen share, entering screen share.
Oh wait, how do I do the?
Exit it, then go back to screen share and click on the left. It says share with sound.
Oh, share with sound.
My favorite spaghetti sauce.
Oh, that's not what I wanted.
That is a pictorial.
It's this one. Is it gonna play? It doesn't sound. Can you hear it?
Rod.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
And they just told you to drive that shit?
Well, it wasn't that
Dude.
bad when I left it, but it was. I heard something.
At this point, would you? At this point, you. I wonder if you would see it in the dipstick. Normally, if it's that loud, you can
I
just
should-
pull
you
the
know, I
dipstick
should've-
out and see.
I should have looked. And see what
Oh God.
Get
Man,
out.
come on.
Are you fucking serious?
What happened? Did they run out of technicians that can work on diesels, so they sent it to the lube shop?
Wow.
What all can they get wrong? I mean, you've done the seal. I don't know if you've seen the oil pump when you did that, but like,
You
can they
do
not
that.
told
work
you
the
to
fasteners?
drive
Did he
it.
miss the fasteners?
Culture,
somehow-
man. Dealer culture. This is
It
it.
is.
That is dealership culture at its
I
finest.
can't understand what Ray just said any better being
Ye-
on the outside than I do now.
You know,
It is
it would have took 2 seconds to run the injector cut test and confirm that's a bottom end noise, because that is
Oh.
definitely a rod.
They don't know what that is.
Even I knew that was a rod before even hearing the sound.
you
so
know
here,
how
you know what's funny, guys, is when I got a little borescope because I have a rental house that I had to stick a camera down a pipe. I was gonna drain the oil, stick the camera up there, and look for missing fasteners on the oil pump.
that'd be a good
But I
that'd
didn't
be a
get
good
the
video.
opportunity.
Oh, I mean, you worked on it, so
Well,
you
what else?
must
What
have
other
caused that
pitfall?
with
What
your
other pitfall
camera.
can you fall into when doing an oil pump? Because I remember way back in the day, they were saying to like prime it a certain kind of way, but I don't know if that's still the case.
I mean, I could tell you pitfalls with a 3 liters. You can rip the oil pan gasket.
Mm.
I've
Yeah,
done that.
is there a gasket on the oil pump? Does the prep? There's probably a gasket.
Well,
And if you don't clean
why
the
don't we
old-
quit speculating and actually look it up? We got PTS open.
Sorry,
I
Paul.
bet
We're
he
not
didn't.
trying to
I
scare
bet
you,
there's.
man.
I bet there was a gasket and he didn't clean it, and it freaking is just leaking oil pressure.
Wow.
'Cause you-
03
you
Super
probably-
Duty 250. Set the last one made said the only thing I've had to change it was a water pumping bag. Buddy, you probably got the last good one out there.
Everybody else is like,
I
sounds
know
like
what
you
he
need to
did.
find a
He left the
dealer.
pin. They left the pin in.
That's yeah.
All right.
Why
that's
it's
what-
knocking.
So to
Oh
get
my,
there,
that's bad.
we gotta do this. Move the oil pan.
Look at that stuff. Look how fast we got this pulled up. We ain't
How
joshing.
is there any weird procedure to prime it? Does something have to be like? Because I remember reading
I
one
read
time.
that. I read that about the priming. I have similar manuals, but I
There's the
don't.
oil pump.
Prime the oil pump. Add 2 tablespoons of clean
Yep.
oil to the oil pump and rotate the oil pump by hand.
Oh yeah,
Do we get the measuring cup from parts? How do we how do we do that? How do
I
we
remember
get
reading
tablespoons?
one time.
It'll be fine.
I remember reading one time a long time ago. They said like pack it with Vaseline, and then but this was a
What?
long time ago on some old POS. The manual said.
But I would think if it's airbound, though, I would have gotten an oil pressure light. No,
Yeah, I would think you'd have some sort of
Oh,
Depending on where the leak happened, though, if he put the leak in the wrong spot, maybe it was like leaking the pressure but not catching it by the switch.
there's the oil control solenoid.
right
He
there.
was missing the
if you look
bolt at the
if you look
back.
at that picture, see, there's the solenoid. If you look at that little thing that looks like a circle with a horizontal line in it, that's that oil return tube. It's a plastic piece of shit. I don't know what it does. There it is. There it is. That's what they said they had to replace too. That and the solenoid.
Wait,
So he
go
was
back
missing
up.
the-
What does it say that is?
Oil return tube, I think is what they call it. Yep, there you
Oil
go.
stud bolt and the oil return tube. I'll be damned.
I don't know what it. I have no idea.
It probably
that
sheds
oil pump-
pressure.
That oil pump's chain driven or belt driven?
It looks like
Oh,
an orifice
chain.
tube.
It does.
Chain?
Is that one chain, Cody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because the 5.0 is belt.
The funny
Pull
thing
up
is,
engine.
if you look at that pump, it actually got the gear all the way at the front end.
Yeah.
And it's got the shaft.
The
that
pump's
goes
in the
up
back.
Yeah.
Oh
exactly.
wow, it's a whole girdle thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was
Oh wow.
Oh, is that the
So
bottom
that-
of the engine there?
Yeah,
Yes.
they were missing bolts out of the oil pan at the back toward the transmission.
Did it say to remove the transmission or just drop the oil pan
just the oil pan.
and front cover? Oh, okay.
Move front cover.
And then the engine has to be lifted up a little bit.
Yeah.
Skyjack.
It's gotta
for
support it, yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
Sounds like a pain in the dick.
That's why, like, even replacing the engine's a pain. I was looking through the
Oh, I'd
notes
much
on-
rather replace the engine. I pull the cab and just pluck it out.
Yep.
So he was
Forget
asking
that.
me.
I
He
mean,
was
I would have
asking
even
me-
pulled the cab to do this. Screw
Yeah, that's-
that.
Oh yeah,
Good point.
but he was asking me when he gets it back, what should he do? And in my honest opinion, what you should do is inspect it with the technician
Mm-hmm.
and the foreman and the service manager.
Mm-hmm.
There's an app you can get on your phone. It's the time app, and it puts the
They
time and
are-
location right on the photos, and then sit there with the tech and take pictures.
Mhm.
The timestamp right on it.
Oh, okay.
What did you say, Ray?
He was saying about getting everybody in the same room. Bearded Vortex said something about that. And I was just, my thought was they're not going to offer a forum of transparency to figure
Well, they
it
should definitely be
out.
doing something extra for you at this point. You should have.
They
a
didn't
loaner.
do what they were supposed to do the first time. What do you think they're going to do
Right.
extra?
Well,
Come
yeah,
on, man.
he should be in a loaner. You know what I mean? He shouldn't have to be out without a vehicle.
So I'm in a loaner. It's not a truck, which I was upset about. So I talked to Ford headquarters. I've been in contact with Ford headquarters, and they say, we understand you're in a loaner and it's not a pickup truck. So I said, okay, so I'm going to go rent the pickup truck and you're going to reimburse me, right? And they said,
Nope.
well,
Nope. Nope.
no,
Nope.
we're not going to do that.
No.
We can start talking about extended warranty programs. So now I'm looking at the different warranties that Ford offers. There's some platinum one, like 100,000 miles. I'm going to ask for that one.
I mean,
So when
go big.
we look at
sure.
this oil filter or this oil pump, like what the heck could he have done wrong? There's no gasket there. I mean, it's got to be a gasket
There's
somewhere.
gonna be an O-ring or something.
Well,
He
there's
could have done a
O-ring.
lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
He could have
won't
missed an
know.
O-ring or something. Something like
don't-
that. Could
we
be.
don't know
Might not be
anybody
tight.
hasn't really said anything besides them driving back and forth to Joe Montana, who right now has an actual 7.3 Godzilla in the
I got-
comments.
I got
Oh,
one.
DS, you don't count. You're not the ordinary person. All the ordinary people in the comments who have 7.3s. Have you had any issues with it? Have you had to have your motor replaced? Has it been to the dealer? It's people say you. Hold on, I just got interrupted.
Oh, it's the Blackhawks flying over my house again. No, I'm not kidding. They did that like 2 Wednesdays ago.
It's a Cessna, not a Blackhawk. Come on
They're
now, you know
they're
this.
pissed about that. That community. Yeah, there's a couple of them up there. Hang on, they're about to cross over.
They found you again.
Oh, bro, you guys hear that?
We need
I
to
feel the
Yeah,
rotor
right there,
wash.
right there. They're right there.
get that thing that's in that picture in that stairway for you. So you can take care of your Blackhawk problem.
I don't have a Blackhawk problem. No, I don't have a Blackhawk problem at all. Yeah, the lights are off. They are running blacked out. There's no
They're
lights.
running, they're running with nods tonight,
No,
huh?
there's no strobe, no lights, no tail lights, nothing. They're just driving around.
Bang, bang.
Rolling with the nods.
I
Mm.
don't
But
know.
then the other thing I'm trying
7.3s.
the other thing I'm trying to put together is a list of, like, you know how when they do some work, you're supposed to throw away some fasteners and put new ones. So I'm trying to put together like a list of the fasteners that I could look at to see if they actually look new. So like I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be that
The
guy.
one-time use.
So
Cody, what's the one-time use list? Go to the shopping cart.
So
I need a
there-
VIN number for that.
There is by law in
I have a VIN number.
Michigan repair facility standards repair law, like I
Workmanship?
guess.
You want to call it
Um,
workmanship?
we have to provide all of the parts
Oh,
to the customer. The parts that cannot be returned to the customer, one, they have a core and have to go back to the manufacturer. Two, are too dirty, oily, or large to be put into the vehicle. Are to be able to be inspected by the customer. And there is a period of time, I don't know
Check the chat, Cody.
the time frame, but it's probably worth looking up so that I can actually know the time frame. But I believe it's 48 hours or something. If we can't provide those parts to the customer, then um I don't know if the customer doesn't have to pay for the job or we have to refund them, or there's some stipulation where um uh something has to be compensated back to the customer. So it may be worth bringing that up because that's not something a customer usually. Well, can I see my parts? Well, it was under warranty. I don't give a shit. I wasn't paying for it anyway. Hey,
Right.
no, check this out. I'm not your normal dude. I want to see the parts. We're gonna go lift this up. I'm gonna put my safety glasses on, and we're going to underneath the truck, and we're going to look at everything because I've already been talking to Ford. So, I mean, I'm assuming they're going to know that because the case number is going to be attached to your VIN, and then they're going to be able to look this up and then this up and see that this was opened up, and it's just a whole big paper trail of stuff.
Yep.
If everybody's dotting their I's and crossing their T's, everything should be,
Well, here
documented there.
is the oil pan one. Oh, of course, it's too much to put in there.
What, the shopping cart?
Yeah.
That
So
was
so
my-
when you had to get this engine, how
I could
important
just
was
share
it?
it.
Did maintenance records ever come into play, or did it kind of come down to, well, you service it here based on our?
they didn't even ask. They just said, okay, we'll do the oil pump. They did that job. And then when I came back and said, it's still got all these problems, they started replacing stuff. And then I think they realized that they probably screwed it up.
So there's no need to even bring that into question.
Okay,
Exactly.
so those
Yeah, they're
gaskets
already
get
providing-
replaced.
He's showing the one-time use parts.
Oh,
Well, here's the list for the oil pan.
so how do you get, okay, so I have very similar manuals. How do you see that?
We go to the shopping cart.
You gotta have the VIN
Oh,
in, and you gotta have hopefully access to that.
Well, it'd be a good idea to definitely hold them to that, because that kind of shows the level of detail that they're willing to put into the job if they actually.
Intake manifold. So you're gonna have one-time use parts for the intake manifold too. Oops, that's the labor and standard.
I mean, I think even the engine mounts are one-time use if I read right. Somewhere.
Yeah. Not the
What?
mounts, like the fasteners, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
The fasteners are
That's what I
definitely.
mean, fasteners, not the brackets themselves.
Yeah. Like
Now,
you pay attention to the pictures, anything with a little trash can, you'll
Yep.
see.
now, if you were at home doing this
Yeah,
as
like-
yourself, Aaron, if you were at home doing this yourself, would you be afraid to use to reuse a fastener?
I mean,
If it's not a head bolt, I mean,
if it's not torque to yield, really, a fastener can be reused again.
And I'm gonna kick you in the nuts for that torque to yield one too, because you can reuse them 3 times.
That is true. I did
Yeah.
not know with some
I
of
didn't
them
know
you
that.
can, but it's still like, even for example, you do like ARP head studs, or I'm sorry, a factory 6.0 bolts. It's 70 120 140 or 210 to 90 90 90. It's like, I am not reusing that bolt again. But then if you do the ARP head studs, well, those, I mean, what are those? Those got a bunch of times you can reuse those. But
5.
Yeah, you're not doing 90,
I reused
90.
I used to reuse the crankshaft bolt.
Yeah, I mean,
3 liter,
I
sometimes you,
reuse LS crankshaft bolts with
and
no fear.
that's a
Yeah.
90-degree twist going up to like almost 600 Newton meters.
Yeah, sorry, Robbie.
Is it true in you guys' opinions that some non-torque to yield one-time use bolts are simply because they came from the factory with thread lock on the threads or on the face of the fastener?
Absolutely.
Is that why they're once only? It's just because the thread lock?
Well, if you look in like Ford TSBs and stuff, if it says bolts are not available, apply Loctite.
so the point is, I wouldn't stress out about the whole one-time use bolt thing anyway. I mean, as hopefully they all get installed, but I don't believe it's that big a deal.
It's also going to be pretty hard to tell too on some of them
Yeah, I wouldn't.
because as soon as you put an impact on them, it's not like a factory tool that doesn't mar them. The impact's going to mar them anyways. So,
Well, hey, they should be using torque wrenches instead of impact.
yeah, that doesn't happen. It's ugga dugga. I can promise you that.
So they don't read the book.
Now, I would think for that oil pump, you should probably, maybe I'm wrong, but should you probably use a torque wrench on that little, whatever they call for, is it inch pounds on something like that? Or would you just use an impact?
On what?
Oh, no. And you're actually installing the oil pump to the engine.
Oh,
3
it'd probably
Ugga
be
Duggas. If 4 Ugga
3/8
Duggas is too much.
3/8 torque wrench. Because it's probably like a 10, 11 millibolt holding all them on.
And they're inch pounds. They're not much.
So is that critical, or do you just take an impact to it?
No. Torque it.
I would torque that personally. Maybe not a bell housing bolt or something like that.
No,
but,
no.
It's like inside of engines, torque wrench.
Yeah.
Outside of engines, meh.
Yeah. If you know what the torque was on the inside, you can know what the torque is on the outside.
But
You just
here's
don't leave them out. You got to put them in.
Yeah, you got to put them in.
Yeah.
This comes from a guy that's not in like the mechanical business, and maybe it shows a little bit how anal I am. But I had a 2003 F250, and my track bar bolt was 456 foot-pounds, and I actually went out and bought a 3/4 inch drive, 5 foot long, whatever the hell the thing was, torque wrench, so I could do
Ba-boom, ba-boom.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
starts.
Actually, we actually take something for granted when it comes to how much we tighten a bolt that doesn't get a torque wrench. Is the hundreds of thousands of times tightening and loosening similar bolts. You know what it feels like, right? But for the guy that never did that before, they have no idea how tight to make a bolt. They actually don't know. And we forget that because that's what we do. But some people don't know what a tight or a loose bolt feels like. And they just keep on going with it till the thing breaks off.
Until it
and
breaks,
like, what happened? The bolt broke off.
It's hard for us to convey that through the keyboard or through the camera sometimes because you'll see Ray or I, go with a ratchet and just, all right, it's done. And it's like, well, wait. I was like, what's that?
How did you know?
It's tight.
Yeah.
3 words, torque
That's a
wrench.
good point.
Yeah.
If you're used to it every day, that's a really good point.
yeah.
But more importantly, I think we all know what happens when a bolt gets tight, or what it feels like when one gets tight and then it gets loose again. See, that's the moment. That's the feeling you have to acquire is what happens when it gets loose again.
You break the bolt, you're like, you know what? My experience is telling me that I probably shouldn't go any further.
Did you ever find a broken bolt and somebody had taken the head of it and like siliconed it on to where it goes so you couldn't tell?
Oh, you mean the dealer that I just left? Yeah.
Real?
Oh, yeah.
No way. All right.
Yeah, what?
Dealership culture. See? Dealership culture. We've come full circle yet again. We got dealerships gluing bolts back together because they broke them off.
Like, why is it that every time people talk about dealers, it's always I hear the negative. I never hear, it's not like, oh, well, you never hear, I don't ever hear anybody talking positive about any Ford dealership.
Because
And
we're
I
not
hate
there
to
anymore.
say that. Right. That could
Just
be.
That's the truth.
It's just
We're in a tough
ridiculous.
time. We're definitely in a tough time.
What did Ray just say earlier? It's hard for a pimp out here.
Oh man.
All
Well,
right, well,
you gotta go through some pain. You know, if you're a young
Yeah.
mechanic, you gotta mess up some stuff, and there needs to be like a better system to prevent that stuff from getting to the customer.
Well,
it's a circle of
usually
life.
that kind of stuff is caught by their trainer, the younger person.
Yeah.
But their trainers don't give a shit anymore now, too. So that's the problem.
That is a very good the stealership. Man, I hated that word. But you know what? That's exactly what they fucking
You hated it because you weren't trying to steal.
Yep.
But then you back up to that 30,000 foot view and you can see how the system is not really in anyone's favor. Except for a couple people.
I wish you guys could get together and get a dealership. You know what?
We've said that so many times, man.
You know,
Dude, I'm down. I would love I could work there. Would
We
you
can
let me be
start
the
with the PT Cruiser. I got a PT Cruiser for sale. You can start with
Aaron,
that.
would you let me be a tech there?
I have a lot of grounds. I need a maintenance guy. I need the dealership exterior looking phenomenal. They're gonna be like, who put them freaking lines in the lawn? Can we have his
So you know how
I got you.
you know how the dealerships all have their own unique like building design. You know, Toyota looks like this, and Chevrolet looks like that. Fords look like this. Like, you know what I'm talking about? How corporate has certain
Yeah.
design approvals, right?
When they get all that
what-
money and they start redoing everything.
So what if we make it? Yeah, exactly. Nationwide, billions of dollars. So
Yeah.
what if we pick a dealership theme and like we're gonna rip off what it looks like, but we're gonna make it out of like cardboard and pallets and spray paint. So we'll make this ghetto looking shitty dealership, but it'll look just like a Chevrolet dealership, just like the South Park version, right?
South Park.
What if we started our own underground like dealership for like I don't know if I can just say Fords because Ray's not necessarily a Ford specific type of guy. He works on all stuff, but like you know what you're gonna get, whether it's maintenance,
YouTube
brakes.
dealership. I like that. That's dope right there. Huh? What is this?
Somewhere
It would
that's
be like the
friendly to
first.
YouTube videos.
That's good shit.
Like become a Ford dealer competitor, straight up.
I mean, it
Yeah,
wouldn't be that hard.
We'll call it Ferd.
Ferd, F-U-R-D or F-E-R-D?
Bird.
F-E-R-D. We'll call it a Ferd.
F-E-E-R-D.
Feared.
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 Ferd.
Ferd. It's a feared Ferd.
Well, the 7.3 is probably not my choice of Ford power plant. One that is dear to my soul is that 6.7 liter, and its ability to run on the road. And if you're the United States of America, GOVT, you can run off-road whenever and however you want. Well, for us peasants that so have to follow the rules, there are guidelines by many, how should you say, alphabet boys that allow certain things to happen and guidelines to take place regarding how and what we do to our vehicles. And just recently in the news, I don't know if you guys have heard about it or know what's been talking about in the Supreme Court, is the Chevron deference. I myself didn't really know too much about that and was kind of interested in what that all had to really take place. And I think it's worth, we were talking about this pre live stream and what, this is gonna kind of mean for everybody that has a vehicle, or you know, I should say more than vehicles. But what the what the Supreme Court has done, has ended a 40-year ability of federal agencies to do their jobs. And that's going to kind of change how everybody's going to interpret these laws and the language and what that is going to mean for us. And if you guys are familiar with Truckmaster, he is another YouTuber here in the state of Michigan that does a lot of Duramax stuff. And he just recently did a video on this particular topic, and it was quite interesting. He did a really good job putting it together, and it talked a lot about us modifying our vehicles and the laws governing that, and what we're going to be able to not do. Nothing's changed right now, but it's still going to be on the docket, I guess, for us to now have a voice potentially here coming up with new rulings that are going to be taking place of who and how power is going to be supposed to work. And
Corey
I
Willis
will,
is even getting involved in it,
yep, I just saw that actually today.
calling out SEMA to start to do something.
Mhm.
But Cody, what's actually going on here? What
Should we start a GoFundMe just to encourage the litigation now that Chevron deference has been waived?
maybe
Mm,
maybe
mean,
not
we should-
publicly.
I
Maybe
mean,
anonymously.
honestly, we should be just like our forefathers were, defiant. But that's just my opinion.
I don't know
Well-
if I can be any more defiant without like catching a charge.
Right.
Well-
Like, I'm about as defiant as I can possibly be. Like, I've taken civil disobedience to a whole new maximum, bro. I don't know if I could do it go any farther.
Well, there's a lot of
What-
people that
what-
need to do more.
What is the issue though? Should I I don't I would obviously want to delete mine, but am I doing harm in any kind of way? Like,
In the
Is there-
government's eyes, you are.
And the tree huggers.
so I'm not gonna say global warming, but I will say if all my emissions are intact, my exhaust does have less odor. And if I'm inside of a building, it's no factor for the engine to be running. But a deleted truck, that's a different story. It's producing, I don't know, it's releasing something where that vehicle should probably get outside. I don't want that stuff in a closed environment compared to
I mean, I don't want to
Uh,
smell DEF either.
right.
Or how corrosive it is.
So what's being filtered out of the exhaust?
Everything.
Obviously,
Particulate matter, carbon
particulate matter.
monoxide,
So is it-
carbon monoxide.
Is it well? Okay, so if my engine's running and there's a 7.3 running, a diesel from
Okay.
2003.
Okay.
What's coming out of the tailpipe versus that 7.3 compared
Same
to
shit.
my 6.7 with the DPF on it and everything
Oh.
that's
Pre-DPF, the same shit's come out of the tailpipe.
but my truck runs cleaner.
Because it scrubs the exhaust. You could almost huff it.
DPF.
You could almost huff
almost-
it.
You can almost huff the air out of mine.
It's
Yeah.
because yours is coming out, I would say, a little bit cleaner because a chemical reaction is taking place
Mm-hmm.
inside the selective catalyst, which is taking those harmful emissions and basically turning them into water vapor, I guess you could say.
It's called a converter for a reason, because it's
It converts.
converting.
So it does work.
Yeah, it works.
Well, yeah.
It does. It does. It
It's-
is cleaner.
Yeah.
But the
So
engine is also a lot cleaner too than the
the
old
engine,
7.3s.
the engine now with the current emissions, it's somehow loading the oil with more soot, and it's pushing oil into or it's pushing soot into the combustion chamber from the exhaust.
It's that EGR. That EGR is nasty. Every 6.7 DS, every 6.7 we take apart, dude, them EGRs are just bleh,
But I am curious on
bleh.
if all that particulate matter is going in the intake, does that wear the cylinder wall out? Does that wear the piston ring, the rings in the wall? Does it polish it, or
I think that's negligible.
is that negligible?
Yeah, I mean, the heat and stuff, that
I'd
eats
like
that right up.
I like to pull the panel. If you had the ability to get rid of one system, but you had to keep one, which one would it be? Would you keep EGR and get rid of the particulate filter, or would you rather have a particulate filter and get rid of the EGR?
I'd get
Ooh,
rid of the
okay, hold on.
SCR.
I'd rather get rid of the EGR because it is directly putting the soot back into the engine.
I'd get rid of the SCR, considering that is the most of the problems.
I said this before we went live, but there is not a single creature that exists on this planet that consumes its own waste. And that's what EGR does. Your engine is consuming its own waste.
It's taking its
Well,
own exhaust and dumping it back into the intake. And then
If
you
there
have
was
the
a-
CCV box that's mixing with that.
if
So
there
it's
was a way,
ingesting its own waste.
if there was a way to not have the soot go in there, and because they don't want the engine doesn't want the soot, it wants the exhaust gas to lower the temperature to it wants to lower the temperature because it wants to lower the emissions, right?
EGR is just for NOx. That's all it's for. Lower NOx.
And that's the only way to lower the NOx is to put the exhaust back in there.
Oh, that's one way.
You
I mean,
lower exhaust temperatures, and that lowers NOx emissions.
It's kind of sinister that you can filter the air to be such a clean to such a clean level and have it come out of the tailpipe, but the exhaust that you put back in the engine is before they filter it.
you want to hear something funny? My Land Rover has two EGRs on it. One pre-exhaust and one post-DPF.
Yeah.
So it pulls it from both sides, clean and dirty.
Why don't they just do that with the 6.7? Just grab the clean exhaust.
What do you
And then
guys
it'd
think
be a
about
lot-
that
be a
EGR
lot-
fast filter? Got filter
it's-
the EGR again?
It's for some people. I mean,
I'll have to really check
Who's-
that out. I'm
who's
just
stuck? For the people stuck behind enemy lines. I mean,
Hmm.
that's about
Well,
all
if they
you can
could
do.
if they could grab some of that exhaust after the DPF, wouldn't it cool off a little because they want it to cool, they want to cool it down. Wouldn't that kind
Yeah,
of
it's gonna cool it.
cool it, and then it comes all the way back up, but there's still be a need for a coolant, air to coolant, or whatever you would call that, EGR cooler, or a lot less of one.
Well, I mean, the coolers on the Land Rover is tiny, so I would assume that's probably why.
It calls for a smaller cooler because because all that piping, it just cools from the air.
Hey, Cody, does your exhaust have a heat exchanger on it, like on the F-150?
Nope.
To me, it seemed like it'd be cheaper to have a smaller cooler and just have that piping, which is much cheaper than that monstrosity of an EGR
I think I
cooler
could
that's on
probably
the
show
side
you
of it.
it.
I mean, JM Synthetics, like, I don't know what people do with tuning that. I mean, that'd be something they have to put in there to unplug everything, but I don't know what them taking the suitcase off the passenger valve cover is going to do. Turn it off. I mean,
So do you
Subaru.
do you feel that 3-liter diesel has less issues with the soot in the intake?
Nope.
It still
Hell
gets the
no.
soot in the intake.
Garbage.
Hell no. That thing gets so bad. Especially if you're, well, let me rephrase that. If you're driving highway, it's pretty good.
Mhm.
If you're driving city,
But
you're looking like a Volkswagen with a passage like that through your intake.
So is that because it has both pre and post?
I don't know why
Or
it is. It's just 3-liter.
just
I mean,
is-
it's
it
3-liter
just is
thing.
what
It's
it
doing
is?
3-liter things.
I think heat has a lot to do with it too, because the trucks that I have come in, these hotshot guys, these guys who are pulling these trailers, going, it's freeway nonstop, are the guys that I'm pulling these intakes off, and the shit's all dry and sooty. It's not all oiled up. The dudes have that all oil caked, are the ones that are just pussyfooting around, driving super slow. I don't want to
Like
get my
Fleet.
turbo. Yeah, like, ah, man. Like, these things need to be driven enough to get it hot.
It's like
It's
my
just
fleet vehicles.
how they
You
are.
know, they run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but they also have a lot of idle time, and that idle time is what's
Mm.
killing them.
Killer. People forget
Right.
about that. Look at that stupid little pipe coming off of
Right
that.
there. That little
Who
guy right there goes up to the
Thought that was a
EGR.
good difference.
Is it even bolt on, or is that just part of the whole deal?
That's welded.
Come on, really?
All one.
Can't even make it
frickin'
serviceable?
piece. Nope. Why would they?
Like, see, here's the thing.
Why?
Like, you know,
Like
everybody's
he,
kind of. Here's the thing, though. Everybody's like pretty hardlined on all this nonsense, right? We wouldn't be so critical if it was serviceable, like somewhat, man. You know, like I said, you can't. That whole little tube, stupid thing is part of this giant assembly. You can't even unbolt it with two 10 millimeter nuts. That's ridiculous. Like,
they got a clamp right here, but it's not in an easy spot either.
Well, not only that, check this, Ray. The
But
gasoline engines are going to have gasoline particulate filters.
but look at this. Look at this. This is a European model.
yeah,
Looks what missing.
It doesn't
Oh,
have it.
that tube and the SCR. It's just a catalyst.
how come they don't have to have it? Oh, is that the same reasons that Ford sends F-350s, 450s, and 550s to like Iraq and Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia with no emissions
Yeah.
equipment at all? Like, we got to pay for all that shit, but they don't have to.
Uh-huh.
And they want to kill us.
And
They're
our
at war.
cars
You
aren't
can't be worrying
going.
about that inside a battle.
Yeah, we're
Saudi
not.
Arabia is not in the middle of a war, bro.
Oh, well, they
Well,
might
if
be.
anything, we have over the seas. How would you like it if your loved one got called in an ambulance and it went into D-rate into the hospital? At least have our emergency vehicles be like the ones for the government. Like, yeah, our troops are important too, and we want them to get in their vehicles and be able to bat out of hell, pull off and take off and not have anything to worry. Well, what do you think our first responders want to? You think Bearded Fortec wants to deal with a dead carcass in the back because now the meat wagons, two of them went down, and the both of them are in D-rate? Like, come on.
Well, some ambulances have 7.3 gas.
Well, some ambulances can't have
And they're going to
7.3
throw
gas.
lifters out of the side of the block.
They got
So,
lifters and oil pressure problems.
Yeah.
Man almighty.
Yeah.
I
All right,
wonder,
here's the
are
here's
these
the driver's side one. This one pulls from the DPF. So it comes in here.
DPF.
Comes in here from the DPF. Goes through the freaking cooler, then drops down in front of the turbocharger through this little hose.
Hey, that's a good idea. Let's shove this right here.
Let's shove it right in front of the turbocharger because that's a great idea. I love it.
And that engine still gets caked up even though they're getting it after the DPF.
Yep. Well, it's getting it from both sides of the DPF. It's getting it right from the manifold and it's getting it from the DPF. But this one's got an actual filter in it.
Why does it always have to be about the goddamn money? Can't we just make something that everybody freaking likes? It just freaking works. You get from point A to point B. I don't care if it makes that there's less mechanics in the world because everything is like, what, can't you give us a freaking break? We're paying all this money in taxes, all this stuff, and now you got to do this. Give me a fucking break. When am I going to make tiramisu, bro? Just give me 8 so I can pass it.
You mentioned the first responder vehicles, and I actually looked into that because I was gonna make them lighter. You know what I mean? And the more I researched it, I came across where there was, I don't want to say it was a lawsuit, but there was like a whole thing going on. And it got passed where if it came equipped with it, then it had to stay. But anything newer, you were able to make it lighter, and the EPA overturned that. So it has to have it on there, which is stupid.
The EVA is not a court; they can't overturn things. They're
Well, not the EPA,
All right, well,
whatever
let's
the
put it,
court. You
what
know
if,
what I mean?
what if,
yeah.
Well,
What
now
if we could-
now we possibly could because Chevron deference is gone and the EPA doesn't have the right to change their rules every 5 seconds.
what if somehow everything got changed to where, okay, it comes factory, but you know what? Whatever you do after, that's up to you. We're not coming after people who are deleting trucks. What could go wrong if that were the case? What could be the negative side of that?
You blow up your truck.
You're not gonna blow up your truck by deleting it though. That's only better
Yes, you can.
for the truck.
You could definitely blow it up if you delete it.
Well, if you do it wrong, if someone does something wrong or doesn't tune it right, but I mean, generally speaking, it's better for the engine to have no EGR, to have no CCV, no DPF, no
Can you
SR,
imagine?
whatever.
Can you
I
imagine
mean,
a
I
life,
bought it; it's mine.
right?
What if it got to the point to where, I mean, they didn't even put it in from the factory? Like, what could go wrong?
I was going to ask.
Would anything go wrong at all, or would it all be just great?
That'd be just fancy if it was all from factory.
Okay,
I
now
was just
what
about-
if
I was
what
just
if
about
all
to
of a
say it.
sudden every
I-
single Super Duty, not the people aren't going to be responsible. The good old boys come out and they're blowing a lot more black smoke. They're saying, "Hey, it's free, it's legal. We can do it. We can burn them. We can have as much. I mean, there's no DPF." And then the next level will be like, dude, you need to call it black smoke. That's the next level.
I'm pretty sure there's already laws on the books that enforce vehicles that pollute excessively. All you need is law enforcement to enforce local laws, and you give citations to people riding around rolling coal everywhere. That's
so
how you
rolling
prevent it from
coal is
happening.
that's a legitimate thing to be controlled.
I mean, it's stupid, and let me switch on my old man hat here. It's stupid. You're wasting fuel. You're not making horsepower. You're obnoxious. Nobody else cares. You're being a dick. I got no problem with people enforcing a traffic moving violation because your vehicle is polluting excessively. I got no problem with that.
Absolutely.
The issue is how do you make that judgment?
Because
Right,
I mean,
You know,
even deleted trucks are still going to poof black smoke when you get at them. So it's like,
What do you
Yeah.
think happens to a gasoline vehicle if you stepped on Ken 7.3 and you're already going 35 miles an hour and you mat that son of a bitch? Do you think you're not going to see anything come out the tailpipe?
You
No,
might not
you won't.
see it, but
Come
you can
on.
taste it. You can taste it, man. Do you ever have somebody fly past you on a
I mean,
two-lane
you'd have
road?
to
You can
you'd have to
taste
be
that.
looking pretty
Taste
hard.
it. Yep.
You have to be
Damn,
looking
somebody's
pretty
giving
dang
it the
hard.
beans up there. You smell it. It smells
Yeah,
hot.
but see, here's the thing. Nobody cares because you can't see it. It's not like a diesel. You're like, oh, look at all that smoke coming out of that diesel. Look at that semi truck. There's smoke everywhere. He's hauling 170,000 pounds of heavy machinery, but we don't like how that looks.
No matter
So
how you put it, you
we're
get rid
gonna-
of everything, you're gonna see some black smoke coming out of these trucks. Is that
meanwhile,
gonna bother people, or is that gonna be an issue?
It bothers people because they can see it, and if it's out of sight, it's out of mind.
meanwhile,
But
they want the trains, the steam engines, to billow black smoke.
Yeah.
You know, they can burn
now,
clean. They can burn cleaner than a diesel.
Let's just say it became way cheaper to delete. Right now, it's really expensive. It's cost prohibitive, but if it were legal, it wouldn't be as bad. 80% more people delete would we notice an air quality change? Or would it all be the same?
You didn't notice.
You would notice?
You wouldn't if everybody was deleted in city congestion with no wind, you'd notice that.
I mean,
Or would that just be
That's
superficial?
isolated to one particular spot, but it's not.
And would that stuff settle and just become like on the road then? And then wash off? Because I thought it settled. Like if it just sits there and then it falls down.
Mm,
Like the soot.
yeah. So like I've been around trucks that have done that, and especially the excursion that I just worked on. And because it was over fueling so bad, I actually had soot like raining down on me into the truck as I was sitting there talking to you guys on camera. And it was like, oh my gosh, what's this shit all over me? Oh my God, fucking soot's flying. Well, I don't think that when uh diesels are or 6.7s, I mean, I've seen enough driving around that I don't feel like you're seeing that particulate land. It's just what happens when you burn diesel fuel. It's a
I
fossil
don't
fuel.
I don't
It's
remember the old days, like the 7.3 days. I don't remember seeing it. But those have catalytic converters,
Mm,
I think.
some.
I wonder if they're going to be concerned about the pollution that's created when all the gas motors with filters on the exhaust start burning down.
Hmm.
Like the
Well,
2025s after they put particulate
gasoline,
filters on the gassers.
DPS.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how that's going to work out.
Well, you can shove a tampon, more blockages up the back end of these trucks. Like, well, you have to have the engine breathe and flow, and you can only have so much crammed into these things for it to even be efficient. And you can turn up the timing and turn up
Dude, even Banks did a video on
whatever.
that with the way the exhaust is bent. Banks did a video on that. How it makes the engine breathe.
It's it's pretty crazy to see what potentially could happen here in the future. Um, we will close this out with the last question, wondering if my 6.7 will catch fire because of that plastic upper filter. I wouldn't want to be wondering when it's going to catch fire. I'm wondering when you're going to place your order for an HSM upper spin-on so that you have no more plastic in the engine compartment. I appreciate you all for watching. I will see you all on Friday. We have finally got to speak with somebody in person from SNS. They came to the shop. We got to do a little presentation and make a video. I'm so excited for you guys to see it. Very interesting. And big shout out to Ken. I appreciate you devoting some of your time tonight to talk about your 7.3 debacle with another crappy dealership. Doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Mr. Ray, Cliffy Whiffy, DS, he's there somewhere. I don't know. It could be underneath his truck. I can't tell. Bearded Fortec, see, peace. See you guys later.